Thanks for tuning in for another weekly wrap-up of the comics, trades, graphic novels that I've read for the week. If you guys are new subscribers, I just want to throw it out there that you can follow me on Goodreads if you want to know, like, every book that I'm reading. Like, if you're following me not just because of the comics I read, but you want to know what other books I'm reading, like ebooks and regular books, etc. Or if you just want to know, like, right up to the date what book I am reading at that time, feel free to follow me on Goodreads. If you go to my main page on YouTube, you'll see all the different links so you can follow me at. Just wanted to throw that out there. Because, yes, I have been uploading a lot of weekly wrap-ups for the comics. And I know I do plan on doing another Friday read someday in the near future. It's just the one book that I've been reading. I've been reading for a very long time. It's kind of a slow read. And that's why I haven't changed it to anything else. And that's why I haven't done a Friday reads in like forever. But anyways, let's get on with the graphics / comics I've read so far. First up, we have John Constantine, Hellblazer, Fear and Loathing. Now, this series is one that's been out for a very long time. It was one that I wasn't really interested in. And I'll admit, it wasn't until the Constantine series premiered on NBC that I decided I wanted to read this. And I have to agree with a lot of the fans of the comic that the comics are much more dark and grittier than the show. And I think that that's one of the things #Save Constantine they need to do. They need to make them darker and grittier. And if it takes going to Sci-Fi Channel to do that, then so be it. Well, anyways, this one mostly involves Constantine's like regular, like day-to-day life. He has a girlfriend named Kit, and he just turned 40. He has a party. And it's just a lot of, just a little background information about him and people he knows and how it's not easy for people to get too close to him because they usually end up dead. So, like, overall, I did enjoy this story, and it's written by Garth Ennis, who wrote Preacher, and I absolutely love the Preacher series, and it's drawn by Steve Dillon, who also worked on the Preacher series. So, yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the artwork. I really enjoyed the writing style. I love reading Garth Ennis's little, like, quips that he puts in the stories. But I did rate this one only 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. If you want to know a little more about his background and, stuff like that, this is one to check out. I'm probably going to read every volume of Constantine, but I'm not going to go about it like I did Preacher, where I read them in order. And following that, I picked up Tainted Love. This is another Hellblazer. This one I thought was a lot more intense than the other one, just because it had the King of Vampires, and just how the King of Vampires story ended out was pretty darn cool, because that makes Constantine kick ass. And that's one of the things I like about this character. He's such a douchebag, but he does it so well. And there was another story about how his ex-girlfriend Kit comes back, and they kind of explain a little more about her and how Constantine is living on the streets because he was so heartbroken when she left him and all that. So, like, I really thought this was a good story. It was better than the other volume I just showed you guys. This one I rated 4 out of 5 stars. And, of course, it's the same writer, same artist. They're a pretty good team. They work good together. So, and I know not all the volumes are these guys, which kind of sucks, but what can you ask for, Then I picked up Uncanny X-Force. This one is Torn and Frayed, and I think this is volume 2. They've done so many incarnations of X-Force that it's like hard to keep track of them all. I know this is a previous version of the X-Force, and of course it's got Psylocke and Phantom X, and maybe, I don't know if I should pick up the prior volume of this to find out how Phantom X became split into three 3 or 4 different people. I think he's 3 different people. No, he's 4. Yeah, he's 4 different people. Which is kind of weird, because then his powers got split, too, amongst these individual parts of him. Well, anyways, so it mainly focuses on the relationship that Psylocke has with Fantomex, and she's kind of in love with the different parts of him, and it's okay, but the second half of this volume involves Bishop and a different future timeline, something they need to prevent. So I thought it was just okay with all these things. I mean, I like learning about the characters I love, but I thought it was a little dry. I mean, I really didn't... It was just okay with the clones or whatever they are, the parts of Fantomex. They were just okay, and it seemed to be a really rushed story because it kind of flips back and forth between the past and the present. And I hate when they do that because, like, there's better ways of telling a story than to keep going back and forth like that. Well, anyways, I rated this one 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't hate on it like everyone else did. Everyone else who read this gave this like 2 or 1 stars. I really didn't think it was that bad. I mean, the art's decent. And like I said, the second half, the story involving Bishop, does have potential. So I don't know if I pick up Volume 3, if it gets a little better or not. But a lot of people hated on this. Just saying. It wasn't that bad, though. I mean, I don't understand why people had to hate on it so much. We have X-Force Old Ghosts. This is Volume 2 and the X-Force series that was originally written by Rick Remender, I think, and I don't think he wrote this one. No, he didn't. But this is the one where they become the Killing Force instead of just a different X team. And Wolverine is the leader, and it has like all the assassin-type X-Men. I read a majority of this series, but this was the last book that for some reason I just never read it. It kind of filled in some of the pieces. It kind of, made some of it make a little more sense. But as a smaller part of a bigger picture, which was that series, I just thought this was okay. I don't know if I would have felt any different about it if I had read this before reading volumes 3 and 4. But the artwork is really cool. I do like the interaction among the teammates. I think the dynamic of how the one healer, mutant named Elixir, kind of doesn't really want to participate. He has someone like telepathically like control him because he doesn't want to be a part of this. He doesn't want to have the realization that he's hurting people. So yeah, I thought it was okay read for me. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I just thought it was okay as a smaller part to the bigger whole of the series. I just didn't think it was that important, but it did help me understand things that I had read in the later volumes. So it was worth reading. If you're into wanting to find out more about this series, then I would read this one. After that, I picked up Thor, the World Eaters, and I do have to admit that I have not looked at the Thor comic in like a very long time, not since I was a kid. And this one kind of picks up with this. They don't really explain too much about who these red people are, that they're like in another dimension, I think, or another world, and the events of this kind of help me understand different events from other Marvel books, like about the young Loki, that kind of, summarized that for me, and it made sense now, because now I know why he's in the Young Avengers. But the whole thing with the world tree being decimated or whatever, and it's regrown, it was just kind of, I don't know if this is something like maybe you have to have a prereq, you got to kind of read the books before this to really understand what's going on. So I really wasn't feeling this all that much, because like I said, I didn't know who these red guys were, and like why they were trying to bust through and kill the Asgardians, like they had some kind of grudge against them for some reason. So I only rated this one 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, I know there's some people who are really into Thor, like, I don't know, Thor is just kind of, because he's a mythological character, and he's supposed to be a hero, I think that's why it's so hard for me to get into these kind of characters. Like, I'm not really into Hercules either. And that's why I just kind of was like, yeah, it's okay. If you're really into Thor, you might appreciate this story more than I did. So feel free to check it out. But I just thought it was average. Okay, up next we have Thor, Sunlight and Shadows. I picked this up and I wasn't aware of what I had picked up because there are some comic book eras or times that they should be forgotten, and this is one of them. Thor loses his powers, but somehow he gets them back. And if you guys aren't familiar with certain events, well, there was this event that happened. I think it was the Onslaught that like took apart Marvel Universe, and then after Onslaught, they radically changed all the heroes, and it was called Heroes Reborn. So this is the Heroes Reborn Thor. So of course he looks like Fabio. He has big, long hair, and the costumes look hideous. Well, anyways, this story was so bad. I didn't even look at the rating that other people had rated this before I started reading it, and yeah, the art. It's sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's just really bad. Like, look at this Fabio-looking Thor here. I rated this 1 out of 5 stars. It was horrible. Stay away from this. Do not read it. It is that bad. Don't waste your time with it. Okay, and last but not least, we have Secret Avengers. Run the mission. Don't get seen. Save the world. When I heard that there was another Avengers title, I was kind of curious to check out what it was and what it was all about. Quick rundown, it is kind of like the Uncanny X-Force. They perform secret missions. They select a few different Avengers to perform these missions. The start of this book, the artwork looks really crude, like they all kind of look like men, even if they're female characters. As it gets later in the book, the artwork gets a little better, probably like about halfway towards the end. It gets a little psychedelic, somewhat backgroundy type stuff. But I was just not feeling this book because each mission was like only like an issue long. They didn't really get too much into the missions. They were kind of cheesy and they didn't really seem as exciting as X-Force. Sorry. It just wasn't that great, you know, and the dialogue was even worse. Like, the dialogue was so bad that it was, like, unreadable. I just didn't want to read it. So, safe to say, I rated this one 2 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's not that great. I don't know if the whole series is like this or if it's just this one volume, but I just wasn't feeling it. Sorry, guys. So that is the end of my weekly wrap-up. Questions, comments, as always. If you've read any of these, let me know what you thought of them. If you have any recommendations for me, let me know down below. And as always, thanks for watching. Till next time, later, guys.